Now, you may have noticed that last week I substituted an old message in place of the regular video blog. Well, it so happened that I'd tripped and fallen the day before, and in fact I landed quite heavily right on my face. Now, it wasn't pretty, and yes, I know that some people may have a further comment to add here. I still have some signs of the fall, but mostly they've gone now, and I'm so grateful for that. Why am I telling you this? The truth is that most of us fall from time to time. It was just a normal afternoon, and I was going about my routine, about my business, when suddenly, without any warning, I was face down, flat on the footpath after catching my toe on the curb as I was walking. Now, I made a bit of a mess of my face, but I was very thankful for the young man who came to assist me at that moment. A lovely lady also came up and she added some rather encouraging words. "Wow, you look terrible." Now, I will say that it is lovely that people respond to such situations and so purposefully, although that lady then advised me to go immediately to the doctor and have it seen to. Because we lived very close by, I went home and my delightful wife Elaine, a very clever medico, cleaned me up, sorted me out. Indeed, my experience that day is perhaps a synopsis of life itself. Things happen, and very often it's not what we expected. Rather, it sneaks up on us and we find ourselves flat on our face, wondering what just happened and how did we end up in such a place. How do you come back from a fall? Falling in life isn't always just about losing your footing. It also just suggests perhaps falling from grace or losing our sense of dignity and stepping aside from our own personal standards and virtues. This may or may not be you, but it does happen. And when it happens, we wonder, is there a way back? Or in other words, how can we ever be cleaned up? I think of a man of God who messed up in a really big way. He went where you simply wouldn't expect a good man to go. He stepped over the line, and big time. Now, I'm talking about King David here. David saw Bathsheba with a lustful eye, and he deliberately let those wrong desires take over. Simply, he was wrong, and on every level. Not only did he sin, but he sinned some more to cover up what he had already done. However, the most amazing fact about the story is that it didn't ruin him. He was able to recover, come back from his fall. He was able to get back up onto his feet. This is the same man who, when he was younger, killed Goliath. And he later wrote one of the most recognised passages in the scriptures. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Psalm 23. People may not have known the story behind the story, as it were, but the Bible says the Lord was very displeased with what David had done. That's in 2 Samuel chapter 11. It wasn't long before a prophet named Nathan confronted David with his sin. David knew that he had done wrong. And I'm sure that deep down he knew that he couldn't get away with it. And to David's credit, he did face the music. He made things right with God, and he was able to get his life back on track. It was around that time that he wrote Psalm 51. This psalm is worth reading. It's all about how to come back from a fall. There are wonderful lessons in David's example of how to make things right. Whenever we make a big mistake, that is, when we fall. When that happens, we often make the mistake of thinking that God hates us, doesn't want to know us because of what we've done. So we run away from God because of our guilt and shame, when indeed we should be running to him. Always remember the truth, that he loves us no matter what. Yes, it is true that God doesn't like sin because of what it does to to us. Know this, that he loves the sinner. Indeed, that his love is so amazing, so great, that he gave his only Son, that all who believe in him would not perish, but have everlasting life. David faced up to his failure, his fall. He stood before God in confession and repented of his sin, and he found forgiveness in a loving God, and we can too. Yes, we may carry a few scars, but we can be healed and set free from the burden of sin and shame through Jesus. That certainly is worth thinking about. Have a wonderful week, and remember that we're blessed to be a blessing.